What's up, guys? It's Tyson, and I'm going to be doing some TA on Link and Bitcoin. I said I was going to do this a long time ago, but just been busy with a lot of other stuff. But yeah, I went ahead and drawn some high time frame order blocks for Link on the daily chart, and it looks like we're in the process of either flipping or rejecting from one of them right now. This one here. We pumped off sort of this trend line here. You know, and I think this was the reason that we pumped up so hard. Sort of like last time, whenever Link reaches this area, it has a pretty violent reaction to the upside. And I think on the face of it, it does look, quite bullish that it's able to keep, this high of a price, despite, how much Bitcoin is dumped in recent times. But I mean, to me, it doesn't look that bullish for the time being, and I'll explain why shortly. If we zoom into the daily time frame, there is this rejection off the order block, dump here, and then we pumped into the order block, retested the bottom, and now we are still closing inside it, but this candle is getting rejected back down, and so are these ones. There was a failed breakout right here, so it does look like there is quite a bit of sell pressure, and I wouldn't be really too eager to long Chainlink until it closes above this level, around 356. And another cause for concern, you guys can see on the 4-hour chart. I throw on my my ribbon. You guys can see that although the 21 EMA, this one here, the white line, it is being, quite strong support. It is being retested more and more, right? And it's forming kind of like a curving pattern. And that usually signifies weakness in an asset. So if Link does what I think it's about to do, it's gonna bounce around here until it gets weak enough where it pierces the 21, maybe touches the bottom of band here, pumps back up to retest, and then settles back down on this order block here, which also lines up with my high time frame EMA ribbon resistance, and that would be about 285-ish. And from there, I think from there it just depends on what Bitcoin does really. But if it does start closing right back into this order block here, that would be a pretty big cause for concern. And I don't think it would be out of the question for us to revisit this trend line here and maybe even break down from this trend line. So one last thing about Link that I've noticed recently is this thing here. Let me just pull up Discord. Okay, so if you compare this distribution schematic for Wyckoff, it looks pretty similar to what Link is doing right now. So if you compare it, this would be point BC here. This ST point would be the pump to $3 here. The UT, which is supposed to be the peak of it, could be here. And then here is the LPSY, which would be a lower high, which could be possibly here. If you notice in the Wyckoff schematic over here, it's consistently setting higher lows, right? Sort of like what Link is doing right here. But at the LPSY, it breaks this trend line and it starts dumping pretty hard. So I do think this is a possibility. It could happen for Link, and I think the catalyst could be Bitcoin. You know, in Discord I talked about how we just broke a 4-year-long trend line, and we've just pumped up back to retest the trend line. So if Bitcoin really does start dumping pretty hard from here back to 4K or 5K, I do think this could be enough of a catalyst to push Link down here and maybe even break this trend line here. But yeah, that's just something to think about. I'm not really making any trades on Link right now unless I see more confirmation, which would be a break of this level here, 290, 285, around there. And that's pretty much it for Link. Okay, let's go look at Bitcoin. We did close the weekly into this order block here, which is pretty encouraging. So maybe, you know, we wake up a bit more to 69, and if it's really bullish, we could pump up there. Maybe maybe pump all the way up here, around there. Although it does look pretty bullish that it did close into this order block and is in the process of rejecting this downside push, possibly touching 73.90. My bias is still a bit bearish just because of that mega trend line that I discussed. So as you can see from here, Bitcoin has been following this trend line all the way from 4 years ago, 1st of February 2016. And this has held for a long ass time. It even held on the lows in 2019, the 3K lows. A lot of us thought this was the bottom, but apparently it wasn't. So we pumped up here, created the 13K high or low high, and then that was enough bearish pressure to push us and break this trend line, which is in my opinion, the catalyst for the dump all the way to 3K. So this pump from the lows at 4K, 3K to 4K, all the way back up to here at 7K. In my opinion, it's just a retest of this broken trend line. And if this does what I think it should do, it should be a lot of downwards action from here on out. As long as Bitcoin stays on the bottom side of this long ass trend line, I don't find it to be particularly bullish. And by extension, I wouldn't be bullish on any other alts as well. If we start closing, if price action starts closing above this trend line, maybe goes up here, and then price action goes up here, retests, and then bounces off. That would be enough for me to flip macro bullish, but I don't think there's anything to be bullish about without seeing that happen first. And as you can see here, this monthly, it is in the process of being rejected quite hard already. Nearly half of this candle has been rejected down. Let's look at the lower time frames. Yeah, it's pretty much it that I've discussed in the start of the segment with Bitcoin. I think the macro bearishness overpowers the micro bullishness of us closing into that order block. And for everyone that thinks that 1K Bitcoin or like, sub 3K Bitcoin is impossible, I would encourage you to look at the history of Bitcoin itself. So where is it? So I don't think there's ever been a time where Bitcoin has transitioned from a bullish market, seen over here, to a bear market, and then back to a bull market, only to set a lower high, which is what exactly it did right here. We transitioned to a bear market, bottomed out here, pumped off into a bull market, but set a lower high. To me, I think this is possibly, it's not confirmed yet, but it is possibly the start of a macro bear cycle. If you put this chart right here on any other, you know, shitcoin from Binance, and you ask me to look at it and ignore the scale of these numbers here, I would tell you that this PA right here is pretty bearish. It's pumped off huge. It's got massive void spaces here. Oh, sorry, not there. Massive void spaces here. And it's also curving out. And since the 20k top here, volume has only went downwards. So price has stayed the same, but volume has went down. And it's printing bearish market structure. And there's a big inefficiency or void down in the 3k to 1k region. So it's just some food for thought. You know, it could just pump up to 10k, but until we see some serious markups, I'm not really convinced that the macro position of Bitcoin is bullish in any sense, even with the halvening and all that stuff. But yeah, that's my take on Bitcoin and Link. If you guys enjoyed, let me know and I'll try to make more of these next time. Thanks, guys.